Warning, warning, two idiots are reading the SCP files over the intercom. Please cover your ears and await further instructions.
Hello and welcome back to Discovering SCP. It's me, Tanhony, your old friend. And
me, Darnell.
Yeah.
By the way, Tan, did you see there was a Pokemon Direct today?
I did, yes. That's what we talked about.
We talked about it earlier, but I'm bringing it up again for the podcast because it's topical and I'm very invested in it.
I mean, like, it was
there's a bunch of new stuff
by the time this comes out, so it's not topical.
Oh wait, actually, you're right. Yeah, I keep forgetting that this happens. These are released in the future. Yeah. Okay. Well, the point is, I'm really excited and I'm happy. There's a lot of cool stuff coming in Pokemon. Blissey just came out in Unite.
Oh.
I'm excited to give Blissey a try.
What's that?
Hello.
All aboard! All aboard! Come on aboard the old DJKaktus gravy train now. Bound to Beasleville. All aboard!
Well,
Tickets,
I forgot to
please.
tell you this, Tim, but I actually
Tickets.
booked us some tickets.
Hello there, you two young men. Do you have tickets now for the old Cactus gravy train?
Do we have tickets
Yes,
for
yes.
the Gravy Train, Donna?
I did. I forgot to tell you, but I bought us some tickets for the gravy train. Now that we're monetized, I figured we could use a little jump start.
Now, let me see those tickets
here,
now,
right
young
here,
man.
sir.
Let me have a look at these tickets now.
I hand them over
All
peacefully.
right, yes. Everything looks
You have
in
to
order
say
here.
asterisk to indicate that that's an RP action.
All right, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Please, let's follow the rules. Come on. All right, let me just get out my old-timey punch card here. Just going to do the old 1-2. There you go. Welcome aboard the old Cactus gravy train, folks. I'm sure you're ready to hop in line. Hop on right over here next to Mr. Markiplier, and over there's the Mr. Volgan. And everybody else in the SCP community. Hop on down. All three of us. It's just us on here.
You know, it's funny. We actually took this train last week, Tan, but we didn't pay for it. We just kind of snuck in on the back.
No, I saw what you did last week. It was not this. You did not do this.
Sweating.
You did not
It
do
was
the
a
thing.
van painted up to look like a train.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was a Ford station wagon that you just kind of hid in the trunk, and you took some mushrooms and called it a train.
So,
Yeah, sorry about that. I hope there's no hard feelings, Smile.
Oh,
It
there.
was for the sake of our ideals.
Uh-huh.
So,
Hello,
yes.
boys.
Last week we committed a sin
Hey.
and said that we would be reading The Bodies in the Water, but it was just an absolute lie.
Actually, I did my research, and the article's called Field Trip, so you're cringe, Tanhoney.
You are
Well,
very
I knew that
cringe,
anyway,
Tanhoney.
but the people who know it from TikTok who are going to be watching our video, they don't know it as that. They just know the funny phrase.
I think in the spirit of last week, we should name this one something completely different as well.
So
do
I
you have
just
any
wanted to
titles
mention-
in mind.
At the
this
end
one-
of our previous video, I did tell a commenter we'd be reading Our Stolen Fairy, which is now also a lie.
No, you can just call this one Y ? That is what you'll do.
Why? Question mark.
Y ?
I can live with that.
SCP-5000 Answers Revealed.
Answers revealed.
Yeah, call it that, Tanhoney, and then we can get Hamiltoe to do an art of the suit doing a pog face. It'll be great.
And then something circled in red.
Goku on the left.
Disgusting. I hate so much everything about what this has decided to be today. Ah.
All right, I can't hear you very well. Let me turn you up.
I
Me?
can hear
Hold on.
fine. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I got you at 200 now.
Wow.
Now you sound fine.
That's fine. I'll sit right up on top of my microphone, too.
Oh no.
It's just
So I've got to say,
yeah.
despite knowing it's a trend, I haven't seen a single Bodies in the Water video of TikTok. I don't even know what the trend is. I just know it's popular, and I intend to capitalize.
So here's
and I hope you don't mind.
here's a really weird thing that has happened to me in the August of 2021 year of our Lord. Suddenly everybody in the world wants to know about this very minor article I wrote in 2016, and I don't understand why.
It's because of Markiplier, right?
The
That's
funny
what I
man did
heard.
a TikTok.
The funny man did do a TikTok. And in fact, there are actually there are two men. One of them is not the funny man. One of them is just a normal man. This guy who does he has this other TikTok channel called SCP Explained or something like that, and he does the videos. And he did one first, and that's why the funny man, the funny shoutman, Mr. Markiplier, did his video after that. So it was not really like in reaction. He probably just saw it and was like, "Oh yeah, I could do that instead." And then he did, and then it got 5 million views, and yeah,
now you're famous.
Well,
to the greatest demographic on this known earth,
Zoomers who watch TikTok. Yes, it is actually a bizarre phenomenon because it's at the point now where, like, my immediate family knows sort of what my whole deal here is, but outside of that, they don't. In general, like my cousins and stuff, they don't know who like DJKaktus is. They just know about SCP, and they know like that I do that. And so the other day, one of my young cousins who lives in Indiana, she sent me a text and she goes, "Hey, have you seen this SCP thing that I saw on the TikTok the other day? It's pretty cool, and I thought it was nice. Do you know the guy who wrote that?" And I had that Obi-Wan Kenobi moment where I was like, "Of course I know him. He's me." So
wow.
I have had the entirely opposite experience when it comes to people in real life. I do my best to hide it as much as I can.
Well, he does. His parents don't even know he has a YouTube. It's a complete secret to them. Meanwhile, everyone in my family knows.
That's very funny. My parents, both of my parents were very supportive of like my very cringy writing efforts when I was younger. Like for my whole life, they've been like, "Oh, you should write professionally. You should do that. It'll be fun for you." And I'm like, and so then when I talk about SCP stuff, they're like, "Oh, so are you making money doing it yet?" And I'm like, but so when I told them that one of my articles was written about on Newsweek's web media page, my mother thought that was very cool.
It is really cool, man. I'm happy for you. And you know what? Have you thought about monetizing in some way? Like, are you working on any other official stuff, or do you have like a merch? I know you made a Patreon, right?
Yeah, I was going to mention.
Yeah, I have a Patreon now, which is very, very cool. I've got, I think as of this, I'm going to double check to make sure I'm not lying. I think as of this recording, I've got 14 patrons signed up, which is very, very cool, and also absolutely mind-blowing. In a way,
give us your Patreon link. I'd love to put it in the description.
I will do it. It's very, very simple. It's just patreon.com/DJKaktus, and which is one awesome that I was able to get that URL. I'm sure there are an abundance of DJ Cacti out there on the old Patreons. But what the whole experience was very okay. So I know we have a whole thing you're going to want to get into, but I have to explain this slightly. I have, for the longest time, avoided this kind of thing for two reasons. The first was, I live from a point of like pretty like I have lived a privileged life. Like I'm not going to pretend like that's not true. I grew up white, middle class, cisgendered white man, from Indiana. I've not
Cactus.
experienced. I've not experienced an abundance of hardship that wasn't like my own stuff, right? Like the stuff that I didn't cause personally. So it's always like in my mind throughout my entire life, I was like, or at least as long as I've been writing here, I've always said like, if somebody needs to be, there are other people in this community who have done incredible things on the wiki and elsewhere, and I really, really like I've tried very hard to like support those people and use this weird platform that I have now to kind of embolden their efforts. And I have and I've really enjoyed that. And so it always felt kind of like not really like a betrayal, but like kind of unnecessary for me then to go like, oh, and hey, by the way, you should throw me a couple dollars there too. And the other thing was like from an artistic integrity point of view, I've never wanted to be like beholden to a group of people over
right. Yeah,
like, yeah, that's the big thing, right? Like I joke a lot about, hey, like fucking Netflix, call me. Like, you want to do some wild shit? Let's do some wild shit. But at the same time, like while I'm sure that if they started throwing dollar numbers in front of my face, I would fold like a wet paper bag. At the same time, from now at a point in my life where that's not feasible, it's very easy for me to say like, well, I wouldn't want to, compromise anything that any of my ideals because of what some studio exec wants to do or what some editor wants to do or whatever. So it's very easy, and that's why the wiki's been kind of so cool for me, is because I've just sort of been able to do whatever, and people have been super supportive in general. you know, in the 7.5 years that I've been here, which is cool. But the other day, I've been talking to a guy, actually, a very good friend of mine from France the other day, and he said, he made a comment about how I should be getting, you know, I should be getting, I mean, I'm spending a lot of time doing this because, you know, I'm pretty active, not active like, you know, physically, you know, I mean that too, sort of, but like, I work a full-time job, right? And then when I come home, I'm really big into EVE Online, and I do a lot of stuff over there, which is maybe the nerdiest fucking shit I do in my life, which is crazy because I also do SCP stuff. And then like I write constantly, and so that's like a lot of my free time. And so he said like, well, why are you doing this thing that so many people enjoy? Like, have people asked you before if they can send you money? And I'm like, yeah, but you know, and he goes, well, just set up a Patreon. That way, there's no pressure for anybody. It's not like I'm putting stuff behind a paywall. And I've been pretty clear about like that, right? Like, I have no intention of ever charging people to, like, I'm not going to do like the New York Times thing where you're not going to see my articles or stuff I write unless you pay a certain subscription fee. But like, if people want to throw me a couple dollars and then like see some of my bad drafts early, or like one of my, and this is very cool, one of my tiers, it's the I can't remember what the fuck I called it. It's like site director or something. It's stupid.
Yeah, that's the $20 per month.
Yeah,
one.
the $20 a month one. I have people can if you pledge $20 to my efforts, I will write you or a character of your choosing into a story. And I'm already doing that on one of my big upcoming things. And I think
so. I was curious about that one because it's a per month, right? So how does that work? It's just because it's just the one article, I imagine, right? You
yeah, well,
put them in like
it sort of depends, right?
You are now part of the regular cast.
The way you can kind of track it in Patreon is that you can like, it'll tell you like these people are due for such and such thing, and then you have to go through and say, okay, I've fulfilled the benefits for this person, but not this one, right? So the way I kind of see it is, if you do that and you get to that number, I will do it, and then as long as you are in that zone, every so often while I'm writing something, I'll say like, hey, I need more characters, I need more names or ideas or people, like throw me stuff you want to throw me, and then as long as you're in that group, you can start throwing me stuff. And I might not pick everybody, but as long as I can track who I've been, getting with, I should be able to get through everybody. And this is almost certainly something that's going to come back and bite me in the ass at some point. Because it's not like an easy thing to keep track of, and I'm super new to this, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But
well, I reckon, like all things in life, you can do it as you go, right? So you do this now, and then let's say you ever reach a point where you have 2,000 people, and that's too many names. You can go, all right, I need to restructure this, guys. I will, whether it's refunding the money or finding out different rewards, I'm going to figure this out so everyone gets what they've earned, but just I've reached a point where I'm too big. Yeah, because that's kind of the cool thing about Patreon.
And this is kind of like early on. I mean, I should say, like, for the 14 people who have already signed up, I'm like beyond. You don't understand what that, like, the money itself is whatever, right? Like, I've never been in this for but like the fact that 14 individual people would go on here and say like, yeah, hey, I want to throw you a couple bucks a month because I like what you're doing, and I want an opportunity to be involved in that. Like, that is mind-boggling. And if it gets to the point where that's all like way too much, then maybe we reassess. But I thought at least to start out at the beginning in this very cool way that I can do this, I wanted to try and do something like that. So here we are.
Exactly. And I think, if it helps you or anyone else out there, I don't think it's a matter of like you are like asking specifically for money to do this thing, or like that you're in it for the money. You've been doing this for years for free. You continue to do it in a way where people can access it for free. It's just people want to support each other. And I think that's perfectly normal. Like, we're excited about being monetized. I don't think that makes us greedy. Now, I am greedy, but I don't think that makes us greedy per se.
And
I think
I should say too, like the other part of this, and this is actually something I talked to Quantum about on Twitter the other day. Because we were talking about like the steps that we as a community should probably start looking into to like make sure that people are, because there's been for a long time, it was very hard, to there was this sort of weird taboo about crediting yourself in your article, because on the one hand, like, you want to maintain a kind of anonymity because it breaks the illusion that people know who wrote what. But at the same time, like, it's not just, and not to discredit anything that came before, the last, let's say, 5-6 years, but it's just it's a different kind of thing now, right? And there's a lot, like, especially like when I first started out, I would spend, a couple hours, maybe a day or two, working on a thing, and then that would be it. But now, like, when I wrote Dread Titania, I spent like 6 months working on that, and it just, like, it got to the point where it's just different than it used to be. But
yeah, the wiki, I think it's changed now. It's not so much about, like, this sort of weird immersive, like, ARG thing. I think it's now more just like a place where people go, and I wouldn't say it's formulaic, but it's a lot more structured. There's a lot more writers.
Right.
The overall quality is a lot higher. You're seeing longer stuff that people are putting months and months into. Like you said, you can no longer get away with, oh, here's a key that opens everything.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a clown that appears on TV and tells your kids to do bad things.
Hold on a second.
But you know what I mean? Like, people are putting in time. It's not wrong to be like, hey, I wrote this. No one's gonna be like, oh, you ruined the article for me. How can I get immersed?
Well,
like, you've already written the amazing story.
So the issue that I had, that I was talking to Quantum about, is partially that, and also partially I am in a very kind of an odd position right now, right? Because, like, I have somehow stumbled ass backwards into being, like, the SCP guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's that was not, I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, I have certainly seemed to have taken steps that led me to this place, seemingly intentionally. I can assure you and the readers at home, it has been by accident, and I am as surprised as you are. Like, when I first started doing this sort of thing, I did it just because I wanted to tell spooky stories on the internet, and the wiki was a cool place to do that. And now here we are again, 7.5 years later, and people are coming out of the woodwork and asking about this thing and this thing. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, after the Volgan posted his video about 2316, my Twitter notifications, I didn't stop getting notifications for the better part of a week, and that is also kind of crazy, because I'm so unused to it, I guess, that I feel like I need to respond to everybody, and that's also hard. So, but all this to say, because I'm in that kind of rare position where I'm like the SCP guy, it feels, I always worry that people are going to misconstrue, like, what my intentions are, right? I'm always afraid people are going to be like, oh, he's just doing this because he wants the money. And, like,
oh, come on.
But
anyone who thinks that can go blow chunks is what I think.
But
you know what I mean?
The thing is that people have already, like, and okay, on the one hand, yes, people have said this already, like, in the past. Most of the people who have said it have probably said it in bad faith, but I don't like that kind of, I don't like those kind of ideas to be repeated, because that's, obviously not what I'm trying to do here. And also, I don't want people who don't know, who don't have context, to look at it and be like, okay, well, this person said it, so, it's probably true.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
That's sort of where I was at. But, I mean, again, the response has been super positive, and people have been super friendly about it, and, I'm happy to do it. And it takes a lot of, effort off of me, too, because I am pretty busy, and I do stay pretty active, and it's a lot easier for me to justify doing this thing over something else if I know that there's some kind of, like, if I'm doing it for, because people are trying to support me doing it. You know what I mean? So.
And if you ever get tired of being the SCP guy, I could offer you a devil's deal, so to speak.
Yeah.
You see, there are two paths ahead of you. You could be the SCP guy, which is lame and cringe, or cringe. You could be the Holders guy, which is epic and based.
Oh, the Holders guy. I'll just transport back to 2006. No big deal. This is
exactly.
This is a true.
Listen, there's a Holders revival going on right now. I'm staging a coup once and for all. I've decided
a fully true story. The Holders is what got me into SCP in a kind of roundabout way, because the Holders is what made me first want to write on the internet. And the first writing I ever did on the internet was on the r/creepy or r/no sleep, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
like again, like in 2012, maybe it was ages ago, and but I only started doing that because I had read like some of the Holder stories. I'm like, oh man, fucking internet horror fiction is so based. I'm all about it. And then there's this one creepypasta. I always, it's like it's like the thing that got me into this. It's called The Gallery of Henry Beauchamp, or Beauchamp.
I think I've heard that one before, but I don't
that name sounds familiar. Yeah.
It is I'm not sure if I got the name right. It's the Gallery of something vaguely French, but it is very like Holders adjacent, and that was the moment where I was like, oh man, this is very cool. I want to do some stuff like this and tell some spooky stories. And then I got on the SCP Wiki and wrote about fucking pills that make you shit pigs. So, it's been a weird trip from that point to this point, but to bring it all back around, because this was all intentional, 2316 is probably the closest I've gotten to that kind of ideal, right? Where it's like, this is not to say like, I mean, I've written plenty of stuff that is in like the horror genre. I don't think I'm very good at it, because I don't think that I don't think that the things I think are scary are things that other people think are scary. But 2316 has kind of like hit a nerve with a lot of people, and absolutely hit a nerve with me. Like this is the thing, like when I was like 10 years old, that we would always be like, me and the little group of friends that I ran around with, these are like the kind of fucking spooky stories we would tell to each other late at night at sleepovers, while we definitely weren't kissing. That was
I was gonna I was gonna say, we've read quite a few of your articles now. I'd like to think of myself as a DJKaktus researcher.
Very good.
And I would say the thing that I usually like in your articles, and this isn't to say that you can't necessarily do other topics, but the things I noticed that you're usually well known for, rather than the horror, seems like the world building. Mm-hmm. Like you usually come up with these really interesting settings, or you build these ideas around the SCP, rather than like a scary atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
So I was really curious when this one came up, and it's, again, I don't know anything about it, but it sounds spooky.
This one,
I do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Yeah, so to my detriment almost, I think sometimes I've maybe gotten a little bit too fixated on the idea of making sure everybody knows every single detail about the context of a story. And that has been a lot of people's complaints about like the Cactus first stuff, right? Like all this Project Paragon stuff has all been like, oh, he tells us too much stuff. We don't need to know all of this. But on the one hand, maybe. On the other hand, that's just how my brain works, right? Like I need to make sure people know things, because that's how I tell stories. Like I just have to impart information at a certain point. And this one was a little bit different, because without spoiling anything, because I know we're about to get into it, this is in the Class of 76 canon. I don't know what you know about Class of 76.
We did a little bit way back in the day before all the like drama with all that.
Yeah, so Class of 76 is like I've described it before as a like 80s nostalgia horror canon, whereas it's like when I listen to like my parents grew up in the late 70s and early 80s. My mom and dad graduated from high school like in 80. I think my mom graduated in like 84, 85. My dad graduated in 81. And so when I was growing up, I listened to a lot of the same music that they listened to when they were in high school and college. And I watched a lot of the same movies, and like that was just sort of the world that I lived in. And I should say specifically too, I'm talking about like 80s Americana, like this same kind of
right.
This isn't the same. I don't want to imply this is universal, but like I get the same kind of feeling when like writing stuff for Class of 76 that I do when I'm listening to. And this is going to be a kind of weird for a lot of people who don't know me. Bruce Springsteen's "Racing in the Street," and I don't know if you've ever heard that song. It is It's maybe my favorite song. And not necessarily because I think like the song itself is incredible. I do, but when I listen to it, I have like I get a feeling, like a very specific emotion listening to it, and the specific emotion is nostalgia for a time I did not exist in. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, but it's not like in the rational part of my brain, I can recognize that like we live in one of the the most privileged parts of human history, like where it is easier to be alive now than it has been. Well, for for a lot of people, not for everybody, obviously, than it ever has been. And, going back in time, things were, different and worse for a lot of people. But, when I see pictures of, like, my folks from back then and their friends and, like, my grandparents and their families and everything, like, I get this, like, weird sense of, like, longing for a time that I know nothing about outside of the media that I've kind of, sucked into my brain hole from that time. And so Class of 76 is a lot the same way, right? Class of 76 is Racing Through the Street by Bruce Springsteen through the filter of, like, cosmic horror. So
I think I kind of get what you're saying. I don't know if I would exactly call it, in my instance, of being nostalgia, but there's, like, a lot of stuff I grew up with, like, sort of older music from my parents and some of their friends, like specifically like older jazz and rock that kind of just gives me a feeling.
Yeah.
I guess it reminds me of when I was young. Not even of that time, but just like it feels like a different time, a better time.
You know the movie The Breakfast Club?
Yeah, but I've never seen it.
Okay, so
no spoils.
No, yeah, for this 40-year-old movie. The Breakfast Club. The thing about the Class of 76, the Class of 76 to me is like, for people who understand the reference, the Class of 76 for me is like The Breakfast Club if none of it actually happened and all of the characters were dead at the beginning of it, and you're just watching like their brains decomposing over the the hour and a half runtime or 2 hour runtime or whatever it is.
Jeez.
Like, it's just kind of like you are experiencing a happy memory from the point of view of the people who are involved, but the thing that is actually happening to them is kind of horrible, right? So that's
sort of like when you watch something knowing something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. And so to get back to what you were saying a second ago, the thing about Class of 70, or the thing about this article specifically, and the reason why I didn't have to do any world building with this article, is because a lot of that world building was already done. Like, from the people who had written in this canon before, I could just kind of slide it in, and I hadn't originally intentioned it to be in that canon. It just kind of fit when I was done with it. So I think it's cool. This is, I mean, if you want to talk about things I've written that are disconnected from a lot of other things, this one certainly kind of stands on its own. It doesn't reference much else or anything else, actually, except for the Class of 76, which I'm also going to be rewriting, by the way. Just FYI, just a little bit of a spoiler there for the old Patreon supporters. Follow me, DJKaktus, www. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to see what you come up with that. We explored a little bit before, and I was really into it, so now I'm kind of a little more excited for this. But we do have to read this because Boris has a gun to my head and will cancel me if we don't, and we're like 30 minutes in.
Yeah, I'm so much sorry for wasting time.
We should probably open up the article. You're not wasting... No, I honestly... I'm not even just saying this. I unironically love listening to you talk. You just have so much like passion, and I can tell that you really like you know what I mean? You're not just spitting bullshit words. Hold on. I'm not good at using my language.
No, I get you. I always worry that that I talk and people don't want to tell me to shut up because it's
fun and engaging. I like hearing about your thoughts on things and the way that you phrase stuff.
Well, thanks, guys.
It's like I didn't feel like, oh my god. I was like, oh, tell me more. But we do have to read this, or I will get killed by Boris WW. That is a fact.
Very good. Carry on.
All right, so Tan, would you drop that link for us?
Absolutely. So, the link for it is about to appear in the chat.
While that's happening, Tan, can you check video discussion on our server?
Let's see what is happening in video discussion.
Someone found a JoJo Pick crew, and they decided to make her a character.
Interesting.
Oh no, I hate the sound of this already. This is horrifying. I'm gonna go look too.
Anyway, so this is called Field Trip, right?
It is called Field Trip, and the name was. Just a little peek behind peek behind the curtain here. That name was recommended to me by Decibels, she's not around a lot anymore, but she came up with the name, and it's a good name. It's it's kind of unassuming.
So I have a quick question, just because I want to check, because I don't want to give you the wrong idea. I don't really give a shit about the rating. I don't really let that affect my opinion. But was the rating this high before the trend happened?
No, it's gone up maybe a full 100 points since the beginning of the month, which is actually kind of bonkers. Again, for an article that has been around for 5 years, it is extremely unusual for that to happen. again, it's super exciting for me as a writer, like the fact that this kind of thing has that much staying power. But I also kind of recognize that it is benefiting from its circumstances.
I didn't mean to imply that this was undeserved. I was just
no.
genuinely curious if it's affected the actual popularity of the article on the site, because the off-site community is kind of different from the on-site community. Sorry.
No, you are right on the money. The short answer is yes. It has absolutely, and you can kind of I will show you a very small snippet here real quick, a very small little screenshot. I'm going to post it in our little chat here. Let me show you.
Donnell, please describe what you are seeing.
All right.
Yeah, we have a I just see a line! Okay. Oh, wait, is that like the view line?
That is the rating line.
I'm so stupid, you were literally just talking about ratings, and I was like, why did he send me a line?
So do you see there the
I do definitely see.
It was a little bump.
It just goes it goes in a very odd direction. It also did that, and the tool I'm using is Skipper. I think 59 is the guy who makes this. This is the whole thing. You can see another bump in 2019. I have no idea where that one came from, but
interesting.
This one is much more dramatic. So,
well, this is very cool, man. I'm excited to read this now. I say we dive right in? ?
Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick us off.
All right. Yeah, Tan, pop off.
So, by order of the Overseer Council, the following file describes a Kieta class. What the fuck am I even talking about? Describes a Kieta. I can't even talk anymore.
That's it. Episode's over. Tanhody ruined it. We're starting from the top.
I couldn't even get through the second sentence. Following file describes a Keta class, anomalous cognito hazard, and is level 4/2316 classified. Unauthorized access is forbidden. Item number 2316.
Well, I don't follow the rules.
Containment class Keta, disruption class Kenek, risk class Danga. Cognito hazard warning.
Did you say danger? Like a banger?
Yeah, I did.
Danger and match,
yeah, bro,
baby.
That's a danger.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cognito hazard warning, and then it goes straight to this little sentence here, nothing in between. The following file contains images and text that are carriers for anomalous...
Hey, wait, I see something here! If you highlight it, hold on.
Boy, what?
If I highlight with my mouse, it says they've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, so just... welcome to the show, Darnell. This is going to be a trend.
So Wikidot has some bugs sometimes, so bits of other articles can show up.
I'm highlighting the whole article now, but I don't really see it. I see
maybe
don't
read ahead, maybe.
Okay, I'm not reading ahead. I was just checking.
So the following file contains images and text that carriers for anomalous cognito hazardous influences. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. Due to this, it is imperative that all personnel accessing this file be certified as having a cognitive resistance value, CRV, of no less than 14.5. Should you fail an automated CRV verification, please remain calm and do not move. A member of your site's medical staff will be with you shortly. Please repeat the
so just that short thing where it's it mentions you do not recognize the bodies in the water, and that this has to do with cognition. It kind of reminds me of, remember that one we read that was a library that couldn't be written about or something, or was forgotten? What am I thinking?
A library, yeah, it's a very specifically meant... Well, it wasn't even a library, it was a building that used to be a library.
Yeah, it used to be a library.
Yeah, you had to keep... It kind of gives me a vibe like that, where the medic hazard has already infiltrated the article.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
That was Scantron who wrote that article, actually, and is really, really, really good. It's one of their best.
Nice.
Please repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone. I do not recognize the bodies in the water. Donnell?
I do not recognize the bodies in the water. Wink.
Verification complete. Uses CRVs with acceptable limits. Now we have an image here of a what seems to be some sort of island and a lake there. I'm not sure if
I see a few tiny dots that could... I see a few dots that could be bodies, or I could just be looking for things where there's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Do you recognize them?
No, I do not recognize them.
Thank God. SCP-2316. Special containment procedures. Under no circumstances are Foundation personnel to approach the SCP. Observation of the SCP must only be carried out by remote dummy probes utilizing video and audio recording equipment. Only those personnel adequately rated for exposure to cognito-hazardous anomalies may review footage and audio of the SCP. The lake in which it's located has been quarantined and fenced off, and is to be routinely patrolled by individuals who have not been exposed to the SCP and have no prior knowledge of its characteristics.
sorry to interrupt for my, like, random bullshit thought, but, like, the first thing I'm thinking of is they fence this area off so, like, no one goes in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no people are affected. But how do you think it affects, like, the local wildlife? Like, do you think any fish are losing their mind, or because I was actually wondering this, because animals have different brains, do you think, like, animals that aren't as smart aren't affected by cognitohazards? Because they just, like, aren't smart enough to be?
Well, Cactus, what do the fish think?
Whew, that's a real thinker there, boys. I'm gonna have to go back to the lab about that one. Oh man,
I wait the sequel eagerly.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Hey man, I was just curious. I don't know.
You do not recognize the squirrels in the water. I'm gonna have to. Oh boy, I'm gonna break this one wide open.
Just like a lake bass, like smoking a cigarette. He's like, I can't take it anymore.
My house of cards is collapsing.
Checkmate.
No, I wasn't trying to. I didn't say that in a way that, like, it's wrong. I'm just genuinely curious. Are animals affected by cognitohazards?
I would say probably not. At least the way that I rate them, cognitohazards require, like, self-awareness.
Right.
And so if there are plenty of entities within my universe that are self-aware that are not human. Mm-hmm. And so...
Well, hear me out. Could you train, like, a dog dog task force to handle cognitohazards? Because they just need to follow their training.
Probably, yeah. But, like, in the same... Like, that's why I've been kind of specific about the way I write, like, AI, too. Because, in my point of view, there are a lot of, like, especially AI that are influenced by... basically magic, that are like magic AIs. They're like, they shouldn't exist, but like, oh, they found the brain of a dead god somewhere, and they could be influenced by cognitohazards, but dogs probably not.
Right. Dude, I'm gonna train a dog MTF squad. It's gonna be so lit.
Sick.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water. Individuals who attempt to bypass the enforced quarantine must be apprehended and moved to Site 33 for a full cognitive influence screening. Individuals who come within 50 metres of the lake containing the SCP are to be considered lost.
Oh, jeez.
Please repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone. I do not recognise the bodies in the water. Darnell?
I do not recognize the bodies in the water. Wink.
Verification complete. User CRV is within acceptable limits. The wink worries me, though. Mm-hmm.
Smile.
We're not sure why, but on the recording we could have sworn you said wink into the microphone.
I would never say. I would never do that. I would never. Wait a minute. What the fuck is going on? I swear to God, I wasn't reading ahead. I was like clicking on and I opened something and I just double clicked it, so I closed it again. But what was that?
I don't know what you clicked on.
I don't know.
Description: SCP-5316 is the designation for an anomalous phenomenon existing within Lake Blank. What does the blank stand for, Cactus?
This is probably not going to surprise anybody, but this is in Indiana.
Hell yes!
Yeah, I have it blanked out, but it's kind of silly to do that now. It's the number of, because I wrote this a long time ago, back before I started, doing things like measuring out how many black boxes I should use per each word. This is in a lake in French Lick, Indiana.
I see.
So. Anyway, that is what this is.
Within blank county blank. SCP-2316 manifests as a group of human corpses, footnote here. Due to the nature of the SCP, it's uncertain how many individual corpses exist within the group. The number is currently estimated at 45, but it has been estimated as high as 200 or more. Floating in a small group at the surface of the water. The identities of these
a lot of corpses.
Yeah, it is. The identities of these corpses are cognitohazard removed, automated change unknown, though DNA testing has been inconclusive.
Well, see, it's weird because if there's so many people, surely you'd recognize at least one of them, right?
Yeah, it's not that weird to recognize the bodies in the water.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
They really do make you think.
Surely, if you look closer, you'll recognize at least one.
Smile. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna go out on a crazy limb and say, if you look at them, then you become one of the bodies in the water. You see you, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm a body in the water, and then you're dead. That's my guess. Locking it in.
While SCP-2316 appears to be individual instances, it's theorized that it may instead be an entity composed of a collective consciousness. Individual instances of the SCP do not act on their own, but do seem to act collectively as a... I know who they are. I know their names. Each and every one of them. Don't you? As a single unit. The individual instances...
I'm just imagining them like T-posed in the water bumping into each other and making the teacher noise. That's how they communicate.
Fuck.
The individual instances of SCP-5316 are Jeremiah Fountain, Arthur Scott, Denise Clark, Cognito 5000 removed, automated message, edit locked. Unrecognizable, and you do not recognize the bodies in the water. SCP-2316 hosts a powerful cognito-hazardous effect, causing those who have viewed it, are aware of certain parts of its nature, or who were enrolled in the cognito-hazard removed, automated message invalid, to believe that the individual instances of the SCP are human beings they recognize, typically from their childhood. They're lying. They know damn well who they are. The cognito hazard is real, but it's just their way of crying for help, of letting people know who they are, who they were. Attempting to come into contact with the SCP instances by way of entering the lake or touching an instance of the SCP will cause other instances of the SCP to appear. You do not recognise the bodies in the water. The additional instances only serve to reinforce and add to the strength of the cognito hazard. How can you not recognise the bodies in the water? Compelling effective individuals into the lake. Individuals who enter the lake in this way are lost, and to date none have been recovered. Addendum 2316.1.
So I see an interview. Yeah, but there's a secret link. No, there's a secret link if you click below data expunged.
There's a footnote first. They don't want to show you that I will below.
Who's I?
You need to see
Is that you, Cactus? Is that you talking to us, the reader?
They were your friends.
I'll never tell.
So, how about you
I'll
two?
never tell.
Show us what's going on in this interview.
Hell yeah. Do you want to be Blank or Dr. Harrison Cactus?
I'll be, oh man. Have you guys watched the Vulcan video yet?
I haven't, though.
No, I haven't watched any Vulcan videos yet because of the premise of the podcast.
For sure. Yeah, oh, yeah, right, because you're, okay. So, he does, basically, so in his video, he does this interview by himself, in kind of like a theatrical way, and it's really, really good. So I'm horrified of the idea of doing it not as good. But I'll do the blanky blankman.
Okay.
So
error, unrecognized user. Oh no,
you go ahead. You go ahead then.
No, you go ahead. We've already disappointed you in terms of living up to Vulcan.
I didn't say I'm it myself. Fuck.
Funnily enough, that actually happens in the Vulcan video as well. He starts arguing with himself.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness.
Error, unrecognized user. Please log into verification Korea. User crew is with acceptable. Let me show you their faces. Begin log.
Did you ever feel compelled to enter the water? Like something was pulling you in?
What? No, of course not. There's nothing wrong with them. They didn't drag me in. I saw them in the water, and I went in myself. I needed to see them. I wanted to hear what they were saying. They're my friends.
When you entered the water, what did you see?
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
Faces. My friends. Faces I recognized, some I didn't. But they became more familiar as I saw them. I'd known them my whole life, but there was something wrong with them.
Wrong with them?
Like the face of someone you see in a dream where you can't remember it right. There's something wrong, and the way they were speaking, that they...
Speaking? No, that's impossible. They're not.
Not moving their mouths, but I could hear them asking for help. They told me who they were. They told me you knew who they were. Knew who they were. That you.
Enough of that! You're clearly succumbing to the cognito hazard. We need to get you medical attention, agent, if you will.
Get your hands off of me! I know all their names, Harrison! I heard them speaking to me! Every single one! All it takes is one person to see them and tell people, and they'll know what you've been trying to hide. Kirk Lawnwood High School, class of 1976!
Subdue them! Get them out of here! Take them to amnestics and turn that goddamn recorder off!
Please repeat the following phrase slowly and clearly into your terminal microphone. I do not recognize the bodies in the water.
I do not recognize the bodies
Verification
in the water.
incomplete. User CRV is not within acceptable limits. User CRV influenced by active cognito hazards. Please stay still. A member of your site's medical will be with you shortly. Terminal lockouts.
See, this is what happens when I don't add the wink. Now we can't get in. Wait a minute. Hold on, I see something.
I guess that's the ending. It's kind of a weird way to end it, Cactus, I have to say, but...
If I highlight it, it says below, 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 and there's another Linkarino.
You're right. How strange.
Wow. That's crazy. Cactus, would you do the honors?
Yeah, sure. You want to read the terminal?
You just did, I guess.
No, there we go. You don't have a lot of time. You'll need to get away quickly. Go back to the lake. Go into the water. Look into their eyes. It's your friends, your classmates. You took the trip to the lake in the fall of 75 together when you were young. Don't you remember? Look into their eyes. I know you can hear them talking to you just like they talk to me. Don't let them tell you it's just a cognitohazard. This was their fault. They caused this. We were all innocent kids, don't you remember? And you just got away, you and I. The rest of them are at the bottom of that lake waiting for us to go back to them and be whole together again. They want us to know. They want us to remember. Wake up, goddammit. Remember the fall of 75, the year we were supposed to graduate. Don't let them make you forget. They're calling to you. Can't you hear them? Can't you hear them? There's a lot of can't you hear thems.
Yeah.
There's a footnote at some point.
You shouldn't have written them all then.
Yeah, the footnote actually gets kind of wild. I mean, basically, can't you hear them? 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 And then the footnote is just you do not. Oh yeah. Speaking of another cool, and I don't want to just sit here and suck Volgan's dick all day, but he did kind of a cool thing with this article that I had. You know, in from my point of view, like when you get to this point in it, obviously the idea is that you're being affected by the thing, right? But he does this really cool thing with the way he did the audio for whenever somebody says you do not hear the bodies, you do not recognize the bodies in the water. Did you ever play the Silent Hills PT?
Oh yeah,
God.
Okay, you know that voice on the radio that comes on talking every now and then at the very end it says like, "Don't touch that dial now.
We're just getting started."
Yeah, the way that the audio on "you do not recognize the bodies in the water" on his video sounds a lot like that, and it fucking freaked me out the first time I heard it.
Nice.
Anyway, so just a lot of can't you hear them, and then I know you can, and then can't you hear them, and then they're waiting for you, and then there's another line in there that says we were there with them, and then a link at the bottom that says go back to the lake.
Well, wait, there was something in the footnote too, wasn't there?
Yeah, so the footnote is just the words, we didn't know what was in the lake. The Foundation didn't try and save us. They watched and let it happen. Nobody stopped them. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
And then it links to a tale at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. The tale's not really part of the article, but in my brain, it is part of the article.
Do you want us to go over it, or should we call it here?
I mean, up to you guys. It's kind of a long boy. Well, not a really long boy, but it does a lot of the same thing that this one does, where there's like a main narrative, and there's a lot of really, really secret talking, just like this. So, Shaggy Dreadlocks, or SD Lock is the name he was using here. He wrote this tale. It's very, very good. And it's about.
I would love to read it, but we are like 50 minutes in.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I
feel terrible.
I've cracked the code.
Uh-huh.
I've looked at the page source. Mr. Blackbox is not Mr. Blackbox.
Oh, is it not?
What?
He's not. You've wait, really?
Oh, wait, yes.
You guys can see this too, right?
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about?
Finish. Go into the page source.
Yeah, I do remember this now.
Okay.
I actually did forget I had done this. This is kind of nuts.
What's Blackbox's name?
Well, it's different every time. Well, a couple of times it speaks, it's different. The first time he's talking, it's actually, you do not recognise the bodies in the water. And then, as far last time he talks, it's changed to you, me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious...
Yeah.
Is this just a cognitohazard that makes you a part of the class of 76 retroactively, or does this article imply that you, the reader, were a part of the class of 76? Or is everyone a part of the class of 76?
I associate class of 76 with a lot of like expressed, or rather repressed grief I don't know. Have you guys done 3935? Tanhoney, the Salvation High School.
I would have to look it up to check.
We haven't, but we are going to get to that because I really like that one.
Okay, that one is also kind of in the same vibe, and I don't know if that one is like specifically set in the 70s, but it's the same kind of like the whole point of the Class of 76, from my point of view, is something terrible has happened that was either hidden or it kept itself very quiet. And there is a lot of like trauma and grief associated with it, but it's all just kind of been shoved underwater. So when I wrote this article, the whole intention was like, what if something like, it's kind of like, you know, to use a real world example, you know, all of those bodies they've been digging up in Canada, right, with all those schools. Mm-hmm. Not to compare fiction to the real world, but that's kind of the same idea. Like, you have something that has happened and has been buried for a long time, and in that real very tragic world example, it's you know, underground, and here it was underwater. So something happened. The body. I will say this because I get this question a lot too. The bodies are real. In this article, the bodies are very, very real. It's not like you're not imagining something. It's not like if you go out there and wave your hand through them, then it's just they're good, spooky ghosts. It's none of that. It's, their bodies are real, and the things that happen, for one reason or another, are real for the people who it affects. So I don't see it less as a thing where when you experience it, you become a member of the Class of 76, or you become a body in the water. I don't think it's that simple. Mm-hmm. I think what happens to you is that you become, like sort of a reciprocant of this kind of like colossal grief that has existed and now grown and simmered over such a long time. And whether that's a result of something that the Foundation did or something that happened at the high school that was, they were uninvolved with, or, whatever the reason was, I don't think the reason is important. There was a traumatic event. Mm-hmm. A lot of people got hurt. A lot of people are now changed in a way that they cannot come back from. And so then any kind of exposure to that as a normal person is just, existentially caustic. So yeah, that's what this, like, I should say too, this article very clearly was like one of my early attempts to mess around with the format. So it is a little all over the place sometimes. There are some things in here that are more or less, just tricks to kind of hide stuff and obscure things and make you think like you're not all quite there. I don't know if I would write it this way if I were going to write it again. I haven't written a lot of things like this since. I like it because people who don't know, how to go look at the page source and stuff, they'll come back and they'll be like, "Hey, did you know there was this thing on this article?" It's kind of the same thing with the voice Tanhoney that comes in on 3935. No spoilers, but you know what I'm talking about. It's that same kind of thing where like people won't know what it is, and then they'll experience it and they'll come to me and be like, "Oh, did you know about this thing?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course I wrote it," but like, it's very cool seeing people surprised in that way. So
I do think it kind of, that's one thing with the wiki that's really cool with these types of articles, is that usually you read something, and I guess that's not to say you're done with it. There's a lot you can do after you read something, like analyze it, think on it, reread it. But I think having something to come back to and something new to experience on subsequent read-throughs gives a lot of value to it. I won't pretend it's like my favorite article ever, but I actually really did like this. I'll give it like an 11 out of 10. I tossed you a little upvoterino.
Yeah, it
was pretty neat.
Yeah, very generous. No, it's. I mean, I appreciate it. This is a hard one to do in audio, which is, and this is the last time I'm going to say this. It's kind of the reason I was so impressed with the way that Volgan did it, because, his rendition is obviously a lot more theatrical than what we're kind of capable of here right now, just the three of us, because there are a lot of effects that kind of, imply a sort of disconnection from reality that we can't really get to. And it's cool. I feel like that's the way this sort of thing is supposed to be experienced. And I should say this too, of all of the things I've written outside of like 049, This article is, I think, the one that has the most video, like movie, short film adaptations of it. I think there are like 3 or 4 people who have come up to me and asked if they could do, video adaptations of this sort of thing. Which, of course, the answer is yes, because 1, I can't tell them no, and 2, it's the coolest thing in the world for me.
Right.
So, and it's kind of a simple thing to do, right? All you have to do is like find a body of water and be very spooky. And I like that. Like, I like what this. I like the response to this has been. People have reacted very well to it. When I first wrote it, I don't know if you've noticed, but the slot right after this is 2317, which is one of Clef's highest rated articles, A Door to Another World. And when I first posted this article, that one was already extremely highly rated. And so I was really nervous when I first posted it, like, oh man, like I wanted to use the slot because I like the way I like the numbers in 2316.
Yeah.
But I was kind of afraid, like, oh, well, this is just going to get swallowed by the hype of this other article. But it has had staying power, and I'm really proud of it. If I could go back and, assuage some of DJKaktus from 2016's concerns, I would just tell him, like, just relax. It's, people are going to like it, even if it's a little weird.
Just like the ghost of Cactus Future, putting his arms around Cactus 5 years younger.
Yeah. Oh, boy, I would do a lot of things to the ghost of Cactus from 5 years younger. I'd have to smack him around a bit. Him and I would need to have some words.
I would need to have words with my past self. I feel like every 4 years I hate myself from 4 years ago.
I do. I say sometimes that it feels like a lot of times like I'm looking back into the brain of somebody who I recognize, but I don't know that person. Yeah. So.
And on one hand, people say that's like what it means to grow as a person. But on the other hand, it's like I just constantly look at my past self and I'm like, man, I sucked, or I was cringe, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like you're always changing as a person. That's just how it is.
I absolutely agree. But yeah, anyway, that's 2316. I'm glad you liked it.
I did like it. However, if you mention how Volgun again in our video one more time instead of us, I'm literally going to cry and shit and fart. So.
Oh my god.
No, I'm kidding.
I just heard a little bit squeak out. He's serious, Tan Honey. I got to be careful.
You know that picture of like the meme picture of the girl who's like, you don't know what pain is, and then the guy with all the knives in his back?
Yes, I know.
I'm the girl and you're the guy, and it's like all the times you've been miscredited or attacked or whatever, and I'm just like, wow, he keeps mentioning a more popular YouTuber in my video.
Your video?
Sorry, Darnell, sorry.
No. Hold on, was it your video?
Look, I bought the tickets to this train, alright, so why don't you just sit tight, Tim?
Okay.
I pulled into the station now.
The URL for the channel is Tanamana11, not
well, maybe we'll just have to get that changed to Curdy Manor.
Everybody off the train now. The old Cactus gravy train pulling into the station. Time to disembark.
Look, this is our drop-off point. We gotta read the comments.
That's how we punch the ticket, I guess, or whatever. The metaphor's falling apart.
The lore is very well thought out. Do you want to stick around for the comment reading, Cactus? No pressure.
I would love to, actually, but I do have to go. I have a date tonight, actually. So. Yes, I know. Very enticing.
Oh boy, Cactus.
But I do appreciate you guys having me here. This has been, always fun and chaotic and right down my alley. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, at this point, you're basically our third co-host. We love having you on.
That fills my heart with such visceral joy.
If this was a sitcom, you would just be the neighbor who comes in and the audience just cheers.
I'm cranky.
You're Urkel, and you became the star of the show after the fact. Like you weren't supposed to be.
I like to imagine I'm like Kramer. I just kind of bust in and be like, "Hey, boys, you want to talk about one of my articles today?" Anyway.
No, but for real, hanging out with you is always a joy. I love hearing you talk about your life and your thoughts. We should hang out more often. Tan and I, sometimes we watch anime together if you're ever free. I don't know.
Oh boy. Yeah.
We might have to find a series.
Yeah, man, I am all about, like I said, I try and stay as active as possible. These last couple, I should say this too, because whether or not this is going to be relevant to your audience, these last couple months have been kind of rough around here for, a bunch of different reasons, right? And anybody who follows me on Twitter is probably going to wonder, like, is he taking some time away from bitching on the internet about one thing or another? And I know a lot of times it probably feels like I have more negative things to say about the SCP Wiki than I do positive. And I sympathize with that, but I want people to know that I still really enjoy being here, and I still really enjoy the work that we're doing. And, it is... I don't think there's anything else like this place. Exactly, at least none that I've found. And Tanhoney, you've been here, longer than I have, and have seen people kind of come and go. I, as frustrating as it can be sometimes to deal with some of the things we have to deal with from an interpersonal point of view, it is my opinion that it is worth sticking around for just by virtue of, just how goddamn special this place is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have been given so many opportunities only as a result of, the people and authors and everyone who I've met here on the wiki. I have no intention of going anywhere else until they kick me off, in which case I guess I'll go join fucking
Holders
farms.
Yeah. I mean, it's no Holders wiki, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'll go join Holders. There we go. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
No, that's a very sweet gesture. And you know what? I don't want to pretend that I'm like a huge part of the community since I don't really write and I just do this. But I've met a lot of people who've guest starred. I've met a lot of people through our fans. I kind of like, for all its flaws, and there are flaws like there are with every community, I think it's a nice place. And, people, I do really love the genuine, spirit, for the most part. Of course there's the occasional ill-natured comment, but for the most part, I love the spirit of, people willing to help criticize and, help other writers and work together. It never feels like a competition. Even during the thousands, it's never like, oh, how could you vote for that person and not me? It's always like, oh, I hope you do well, bro. Yeah, you too. It always feels very good-natured and cooperative.
I will say this about your specific program. I have, one of my very good friends in the wiki is a young man by the name of Rounderhouse. Rounderhouse has a podcast that he has never invited me on. And you have had me on here literally 6 times, I think, or maybe 5.
I was actually going to ask you too, but I want to do it out of the video. Remind me I need to ask you something later.
From my point of view, this is the best SCP podcast. So
exactly.
That's where I'm.
You know what? I would love to collab with other podcasts, but the thing is, I don't have connections, and Tan's shy. I'm literally the one who has to message every guest.
You don't need to collaborate with any other podcast. You already have the best podcast.
Damn. Well, you guys heard it here first, folks, and he is the most upvoted on the wiki.
In case you hear this, Rounderhouse, go fuck yourself.
No! I don't have any beef with you, Rounderhouse. I don't even know
you.
Yes, you do.
By Cactus on this podcast are from his point of view only.
we do not endorse the comments of DJKaktus. No, but for real, go enjoy your date. I hope you guys have a great time. We'll see you around, man.
Awesome. Tell them about SCP-2316, the field trip.
Yeah, make sure to export that audio and get it to us as well.
I will do it. And if you get, listeners, if you want to go check out my Patreon, I've got some cool stuff I'm offering to some people. I think it's kind of a neat thing, and everybody there has been very cool. So go check it out.
It'll be in the description.
Absolutely.
Come on.
And Tanhoney, you will put it in the description.
I just said
I
would.
So. Good.
Goodbye, boys.
Right, bye, Cactus.
Bye.
Bye. I like Cactus. It's always a great time having him on.
I thought this was the end of the audio file, but it's not, because I'm still here.
But that said...
He's never once let me down.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some comments.
Yeah, we are. This is late for me, so we do need to get through these comments.
Yeah, poor Tan. He also, a quick shout out to Tan and my co-host. The only way we can make things work, because he lives in Britainland and with Cactus' schedule, was to do it at 11 p.m. Tan's time. So it is midnight for him right now, and he has work tomorrow. So we're just gonna, if we skip some comments, you're just gonna have to deal this week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll probably skip
facts.
Some comments here.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it.
Or I'll just read part of your comment. T. Staffer says, I've been listening to this podcast for a couple months now. Got here just in time that my binge listen ended with the reading of 5000. So I think it's about time I actually comment. Love the podcast. It's always such a fun hour of listening. Oh, shucks.
Thank you. And also, obligatory SCP. Just got up.
Yeah, I know! It's my favorite. It makes me little excited hands. Also, obligatory SCP recommendations. I think it would be really cool to see an Archon-focused episode, especially now that it's been recognized as an official object class. Four that I think show it off really well are 4634 Out of Order, 3455 411 Days a Year, 4052 Sandwich Disambiguation, and 4494 The Spectre Fights for Justice.
Maybe we'll check them out.
Ooh. Josh Dudley says, took me a month, but I got caught up. Loving the podcast. My favorite part is Tan's I hate SCP voice. It's always funny. Kind of sounds like a spoiled Victoria.
How dare you?
Can you do it again for us? The I hate SCP?
I hate SCP.
Also, Darnell having ADHD means I'm validated in having trouble reading the long SCPs. My suggestions are 5094, Miss J's WizKid Schoolhouse, 1384, The Taker of Turns, and -001-EX, A Good Boy. Honestly, I think Gamers Against Weed would be a fun theme episode. They're a fun GOI, in my opinion.
We're probably going to get to those at some point, yeah.
Alright, real quick, I need to download this. Okay, I'm downloading it. Now I'm going to go back to reading. JTKC says, I recognize the 1K subs in the water, eyes. Congrats, guys. I really like the many interesting characters with cool stories in SCP, like the Champions and the Black Queen. Loving the new series, by the way, Tan. Although Ocean Champion has a cooler ring to it than Sea Champion. Recommendation would be for... Alright, Cactus wanted me to let you guys know how expedient he was in getting his MP3 to us.
It was within minutes.
Yeah, it was within seconds, even. Instantaneous.
Before actually get it before we asked for it, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
No, nearly an hour ago.
Recommendation would be... yeah, it was already there before we started recording.
Incredible.
Recommendation would be SCP-4498. Actually, the funniest one I've read in a while. Or 5024. It has cool Serpent's Hand lore and a action-packed story. Speaking of things to read, someone... I don't remember when, but they said they... Maybe it's in this comment, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it ahead of time. But they wanted us to read, like, all of your 001s, because you've done 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah. The first one of those will be easy enough, but the second one, I think, is long enough that it would be its own episode.
Okay, last thing I have to share from Cactus. Someone left a comment on Dread Titania that says, every faction in this story needs Christ. No more brother wars, no more blood sacrifices, no more jealousies, no more vengeance against peoples first harmed by the Avenger, no more loops, DJKaktus is Ouroboros. Every faction needs the courage of forgiveness and tolerance. Share the worlds, the sun, the star, the night, which are all one. Tatiana has a sacred heart of wishing someone else solves the problem. Christ's sacred heart of acting that change oneself is better. Thank you, Cabbage Patch and Cactus.
Oh, right.
The thing he posted in our chat and asked us to read. Okay, but last one. Knife emoji. There, now he knows. Now we can get back to reading your comments. Sorry about that. Mr. 5000 says, hey guys, I'm sorry about them long comments ages ago. No problem.
I was looking through the YouTube guys there trying to find that one. Like, what the fuck are you speaking in tongues?
Rao Alves says, congrats on the 1,000 subs.
Thank you.
Cadet says, I recognize the bodies in the water. Well, you're lost, buddy.
That's why you're tonight's biggest loser.
Steve Oesk says, 1K subs, we did it, YouTube. But great work again, guys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Shaithalia says, yeah, for real, we do appreciate it. You guys are the best. Scythalia says, I do not recognize the bodies in the water by DJ Cactus. I do not recognize the bodies in the water. I do not... Oh, hey, is that Waldo?
Hey, that's a whole other episode.
War Eagle 21, which is quickly becoming my favorite username, says, hello, discovering SCP champions and bodies in the water by DJ Cactus. I do recognize the absence of the one who knows silence in the earth. Maybe some other time. Both of you provided excellent voice acting for 1233 and 4233. Fun fact, 4233 was featured in the trailer for Cross Containment as Sea Guardian. 1233 has also appeared in the game as Moon Warrior. Oh, hell yes!
We actually did play some Cross Containment. I'm a Kumiho main.
Yeah, we might have to do it. We're still deciding what to do for the 1K special. It'll come up soon. But it's somewhere between, I think, either doing Cross Containment and just chatting, maybe reading some drafts like we do on streams. Or I had another secret idea, but it would take a lot of work to get together. But
so you know how Germa's doing a Dollhouse stream? Let's just do the same thing.
No, we're not doing that! No. Coinbase has not contacted us.
DJKaktus is now saying that he's a prophet, so that's worrying.
Go on your date already, Cactus. Jeez. Comedy Man Kelp says 4233. Kelp is not as interesting as it may seem. Man, fuck you too, Sea Champion. Password is Bodies in the Water by DJ Cactus. I'm very impressed by how many people actually got the password this week. I thought you guys weren't watching all the way through, but you're the real one. Oh shit, the password this week is I am a prophet by DJKaktus.
Well, that's
that
your
right, Tan?
password. What's my password? I want one. How about share the worlds, the suns, the star, the night, which are all one? So
that
if
makes
you do
sense.
either of those are valid. You don't have to do both. You can do either.
Yeah, but if you do mine, then you're more morally correct because I said mine first.
I mean, like,
Just so you know.
my child will use my password.
My child will use my password. Every fight just becomes the fucking Facebook meme. Graphically says, congrats on the 1K, smile heart.
Thank
For
you.
both of you, what are you going to do now that you have conquered YouTube?
I'm
Tan,
going
what are you
to
going to do?
begin to subsume the website within myself.
My new goal...
The
you know,
fucking,
getting
it's
1,000
actually giving me
subs
some
on YouTube-
suggested responses, YouTube, for this. There's 3 possible responses. This is like the Mass Effect dialogue wheel here. Good question is the
Alright.
first one. Pretty normal.
Okay.
Not sure yet. Also a valid response. And then the third one is just the word everything. And I know which one I'm picking.
I was going to say, getting 1K subs on YouTube has been huge, but, I don't think it'll be nearly as hard as getting 50 concurrent views on the Aetherial Space series.
That's
So
never
that's
gonna
my new
happen.
goal right now. And once we achieve that, I'll know that we've truly made it. A bush from the island of Borneo says, finally, clickbait! You guys are now officially a decent channel. When/if you do another Holders episode, clickbait the shit out of that, please. Oh, we will.
Thank you.
What should we... Wait, what were we going to call this episode again?
SCP-5000 secrets revealed. We've revealed in all
Oh, yeah.
caps, of
Do you
course.
think Hamiltoe could get a thumbnail done in time, or should we leave him alone?
You can ask him. All I really want is some sort of vaguely sinister image with a random spot circled in red to indicate that there is something there.
Okay. I'll ask him. I'll do my best. And Hamiltoe, if you're listening and you didn't get it done, no pressure. As for recommendations, 5733 and 5495 are both quite the fun read and are some of my favorite SCPs.
We'll check them out.
Good Day says, yeah, smile. Good Day says, this was a great episode. No, not the one I'm commenting on, silly. The one you're reading this comment on. I loved your reading of... sorry. Didn't work.
I trolled you again.
Also, I do not recognize The Bodies in the Water by DJKaktus, and that's because its true title is Field Trip by DJKaktus. I trust you don't make this grievous mistake in the future.
I did make the mistake at the start of the episode.
I didn't. My child wouldn't have made the mistake. I think what I'm getting really tired of, I'm not even going to read Banker Paul's comment because he keeps putting his own password, and I hate the rebellion, so I'm not going to read the comment as part of my
I can't see.
authoritarian
What do you mean? He's
censorship
not
rule.
left a comment. There's no comment. I don't recognize comments.
Yeah, he
without
does.
password.
Banker Paul left a comment.
No, he hasn't.
Oh, you're right. Aloy says, congrats on the 1K subs. It will probably reach 1K by the time you read this, I hope.
Profit.
Man, thanks for making such a... Oh, thanks for making such an enjoyable and continuous podcast. Man, Aloy, I wish I could give you a big hug, buddy. Reading both of Tanhoney's proposals in an episode would... Oh, this is the one I was talking about. Would be great one day. Second one is so anime battle that it's fucking amazing. Is that true?
This is a little bit of that.
A little bit. A little bit, you say.
Yeah.
Insert clever name here says, congrats on 1 subs. I've been hit with the random thought that you should read Field Trip by DJKaktus. Oh, I have great news for you, insert clever name. Password Bodies in the Wadi by DJKaktus. Are you there, Tan?
Yeah.
Oh, he's tired. I gotta speed this up. Rather Unknown says, obligatory like and comment for YouTube interaction. I'll get back to this one later. Boris WW says, I feel like it only works as a joke without being mean-spirited if you actually read the Bodies in the Water article next time. Well, guess what, Boris?
Yeah,
you did it,
Boris.
so you can't cancel me now. You tried to cancel me, but you were wrong. Sorry. You're done.
And we've got a celebrity in the comments, so weird that your opinion was bad. Strange.
Jesus! Wait, who's our celebrity in the comments?
Look at the next comment down, my guy.
Oh, shit! Walter White says, darn nail, where is the cocainer? Discover an SCP, my favorite, XDDDD, password Bodies in the Water.
I'm sorry, Mr. White, but you got the password wrong.
Jesse! You messed up the password!
Why has he got like
Oh
a
my
tech?
God.
Why is your Walter White impression like that? He doesn't sound anything like
No,
that.
I look. Did you read it? Did you read how he wrote it? It was like super misspelled, so I was writing it like he was struggling to speak.
What the hell? Where's the cocaine?
That sounds nothing like Walter White.
He's
Sounds
panicked.
like-
He's panicked because like you've misplaced his map.
I just got to the part in Breaking Bad where they killed Gale for literally no reason except
Spoilers
drug
for
politics.
Breaking Bad.
and this show's been out for 10 years.
I've not seen
it. And
then,
yes, you have. That's the only reason I'm talking to you about it.
I've only watched the first 3 seasons.
Are you being legitimate? You told me you've seen it. I asked you multiple times. You've seen it.
You asked me if I've seen Breaking Bad. I said yes. I never said I saw the whole show. I know what happens though, so don't worry.
Okay, well, it fucked me up, because especially when they revealed the only reason Walter even got the job is because of Gale. I'm so pissed off. He did nothing wrong. He just had to die for Walter's ideals. It's fucked up. Land says, you guys, and Anomalous, of course, don't get enough credit for how good this podcast is. Well, I mean, we're no Vulcan. I've listened to many SCP podcasts, and many suffer from the same mistake, focusing too much on the SCP without realizing that they don't necessarily lend themselves to a listenable format. That is what I've been telling Tan. See, that's where the magic comes in, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he's been actually talking quite a bit of shit about other content creators, which I thought was kind of overboard.
I have not. Oh my god. Great. Some I escaped getting canceled by Boris, and now you're going to do this to me? Do I need to tell people what you said about 3000? Do I? Are we airing dirty laundry?
I'll say it if you want me to.
Say it.
I said that SCP-5000 written by one guy won easily. It took 3 guys to write SCP-3000. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah. Oh my god, he shared it. This is character growth for Tanhoney.
What do you mean? I would have shared it anytime if you'd asked. Well, I've got no shame.
No. Well, I wanted to share it because it was funny, but then you told me you didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but now you've gained confidence.
Then you've asked me again at midnight.
Yeah, that's all it took. Just know, if you want Tanhoney to do anything, then you just have to ask him after midnight.
When I'm tired, I will do anything. I'll even kill.
You guys managed to not only... Alright, Tanhoney, I have someone I need you to kill for me. But we'll talk about that later. You guys managed to not only balance SCPs with funny, relevant tangents, my favorite part of the podcast, but also actually read the SCPs in an entertaining way. Thank you. Congrats on 1,000 subs. Hopefully by the time you read this, you seriously deserve it. Lan, I'm giving you a big hug.
Thank you for your continued
You're my favorite
support.
guy.
This is like shaking our hands at an event.
Yeah, it's like an idol event. It's like, thank you so much for buying our album. You guys got the headbands on.
I'm sorry, Lan. We've shifted this genuine gratitude into making fun of you.
No, I'm not making fun of you guys.
Which is what you've... Let's be honest, you're on episode 76 of Discovering SCP. This is what you're here for.
77, actually, if you kept track.
Yeah. But I'm talking... Because on the comments...
Okay. No irony, no jokes, dead ass. I'm extremely grateful. And I'm not making fun of you guys. We're very thankful.
I'm not saying is that... If they're commenting on episode 76 of the podcast, they all want to be made fun of a little bit.
Yeah. Andriana Renivo, who is... I have to give Andriana Renivo a little bit of a shout-out.
Okay.
We probably would not have had Cactus if they didn't remind me, because I love Cactus. I want to have him on anytime we're going to do a Cactus article, and I was so fixated on, we have to do this article so Boris won't kill me, that I completely forgot, oh shit, Cactus wrote it, I should contact him. But Andri brought it up in the server, and then I DM'd him and we got it set up. So shout-out to Andri for that before I read their comment. Andriana Renivo says, I'm so very happy that Cactus sees his catchphrase gain fame, but sad because I try living by the virtue that we should express gratitude to the people who make the effort to entertain us motivated by passion, and that people don't recognize the author of the catchphrase in SCP to at least give them credit is sad. Oh, there's more, hang on. True virtue exists without witness or reward. I believe generosity should be... This sounds like a fucking villain speech. I believe generosity should be rewarded by a recipient and gracefully acknowledged by a witness. Sounds like a fucking lawyer.
I'm pretty sure one of those lines should not to who. But I
unironically, I respect... Yeah, it's a very sweet thing. I'm pretty sure what you're saying is people who do cool stuff deserve to be recognized, but it sounds like you're making it sound like an official contract, like a lawyer must witness.
I also like the implication that is just Cactus's personal catchphrase. Just some
thoughts, experiments, and others.
You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
I don't want to read this next comment, Tan.
Which one? Oh yes, I think I know what you mean. Which one is it? Who's it from?
Thought experiments and other stuff says.
So yeah, because it's so late, so then we're gonna have to skip some comments.
No one's going to write that, okay? If any of you write that, the podcast goes off the air.
Yeah, but
Just
being
so you know.
100% serious, please don't do that again.
Yeah, seriously. We are very good friends in real life, and it's very uncomfortable if someone were to do that. I'm sure this was just a jest, but if any of you write it, just know that I will never forgive you, and I will hunt you down. That's the end of that. Alright. Quaker Button Nose 128 says, clickbait! Clickbait! Smile.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have you seen the yellow sign says, Keter Dark is the only real object class, huzzah?
Okay, so I've got a bit of a beef. I've mentioned this on Twitter, so... Originally,
Keter Dark and Dark Keter are not the same thing.
They are different object classes. They have different implications. Mm-hmm. A Dark Keter is like a normal Keter, but it's more badass. Whereas Keter Dark has an entirely different connotation, which I can't remember what it is, even though I used it. But that's only because I wanted to use Dark Keter, but it didn't have a special icon. So I used it without any really... I don't really know what it means, even though I'm the first one from the wiki to use it, I believe.
Interesting. A Dog Shij B says, I do recognize the clickbaits in the water, which is why I'm watching this. Also because I like listening to your voices.
I like the same.
1,000 subs is near, so congrats in advance. What?
I like listening to your voice too. Alshradak.
Yeah, me as well. At
We're in events.
Recommendation would be 4840 or 5004. The password is Bodies in the Water, if I remember correctly.
No. Bodies in the Water by DJKaktus. Down in the pit you go.
And then an anomalous writer writes, 8 more subs till 1,000, wowza. P.S. Password is Bodies in the Water by DJKaktus. P.S. It appears a betrayal has occurred.
Is it hard to hear us so far back in the past, Anomalous?
Alright, I don't know what's going on, Tan. Because I watch pretty normal videos, but I'm scrolled down far in the comments, so I'm scrolled down foreign-related videos. And right now I'm seeing a video called These Fake Animated Stories Have to Be Stopped, and the thumbnail says, I got pregnant from swimming with my friends. So, I just thought you needed to know that. Yeah. So, be careful when you swim with your friends, guys. Well, that's everything, right? Is there anything? Obviously, obviously there's no pressure, but if you enjoy Cactus' story and you have some cash you want to show respect.
Yes, for that, of course, as well. We do also have, hopefully, a special guest penciled in for next week.
Yes! We have a very special guest next week, Smile. And if anyone spoils it in the comments of this video, you will be executed summarily.
I thought we were going to announce it so we could have questions for them.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, that's right! Yes! Shit, you reminded me. Thank you. Go ahead, you do it. Do the official one.
Next week, we've got Quantum on the podcast, hopefully, assuming everything goes well. So if you have any questions you want... So Quantum, obviously, maybe, in case you don't actually go on the... Not really SCP Wiki. I know some people only go through the podcast. Is the one who wrote the Antinemetics Division tales, wrote 055, wrote...
Yeah, with Marion Wheeler and the Starfish and all the cool shit. Basically some of my favorite tales we've read. They've put a lot of effort and work into the writing. It's enjoyable. They've got a book on Amazon. They were like an Amazon bestseller. They might still be for a while. Go check that out. It's called There Is No Anti-Memetics Division,
let's forget about Cactus. We've got a real writer on next week. I'm sorry.
Jeez, no!
I'm sorry.
Hey!
I'm sorry.
I asterisks. I grab you by the collar and smack you. Don't you dare say that about Cactus again.
But
everything he's given us, he put food on this table. Damn it!
I don't see any food. But if you have any questions for Quantum for next week, I'm just switching between personalities here. What's even happening anymore?
Yeah,
please
ask them. They can be whatever you want. Just don't make them inappropriate, or
please don't be weird.
Yeah, but if you want to ask something fun, like what's your favorite color, quirky?
I'm sure Quantum will be happy to tell you his favorite color.
I'm unironically, I haven't been this excited for a guest since we had Hippo on, because Hippo was also insane. I'm so freaking excited to have Quantum on. Oh, it's going to be great, guys. So yeah, you better stay tuned and write down your questions. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go check out, I got interrupted, go check out Cactus' Patreon if you've got money to spare and want to support him. Because he deserves all the love in the world. He's a great, wonderful guy. And literally, he has the only flaw he has is being the SCP guy instead of the Holders guy. That is it. That's the only thing.
We're well underway.
He could be perfect. Yeah. I have a dream that one day the wiki will fall and that Holders will become canon again, and then we can become a Holders podcast.
Canon to what?
That's my dream. I don't know. To being written in again.
Okay.
One of our fans, I'm so pissed. One of our fans was like, I'm going to revive the Holders wiki, and they got me excited. They wrote 1 or 2 articles, and then they never did it again.
Quitter.
Shaking my head. Yeah. How dare you not write a brand new article every day? How dare you? Man. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening, everyone. Whether you've done that on Podbean, or, well, you don't watch on Podbean, so fucking forget what I just said.
If you watch on Podbean, you're
if
very
you're on
bizarre.
Podbean, that implies that you've hacked into my account and are listening to the
No, you can listen. Podbean has a thing. You can listen through Podbean, just no one uses it.
Yeah, if you listen to Podbean through Podbean, you're a freak.
Yeah.
If you watch on
or
YouTube,
you click on our
you're an
tweets.
angel. My child will watch
Yeah.
on YouTube.
And if you watch it on Spotify, you're like an angel book.
You're like a Nephilim.
A Nephilim, whatever that is.
This guy doesn't even know
All right,
what Nephilim is.
we're like an hour 25 and you need to go to sleep, so I'm cutting it here. Bye.
Yeah,
bye.
bye.
Bye.